It is time for another special edition of Litter Media Live, and I like this one because it's a big bang-up version of Litter Media Live, because we've got the guys who were responsible for making the sky explode this coming Friday night with the 4th of July fireworks. We have with us Brian Knoles and also Doug Blue. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. The Ohio Pyro Arts Guild has been doing this for a number of years, and we're going to talk about this year's show coming up in just a moment. Look at behind us. Isn't that great? This is one of the finales from just a few short years ago. Details all coming up right after this from Adena Health.
Mark came to the Adena Orthopedic and Spine Institute in severe arm pain from a degenerative disc. Minimally invasive spinal surgery got him back to what matters most. At Adena, we do what we love, so you can too.
There is nothing like Independence Day. My early childhood was up in Asheville, and it was always the Asheville 4th of July celebration, which is going on again this year. That's where I first learned about fireworks. But since I've gotten involved with you fellas, wow. It's more than just light it, watch it happen. You know, you guys have, you've really lit up the sky for many different organizations throughout the area, including the city of Chillicothe.
Yes, we've been involved in a number of efforts.
Lean a little closer in there.
I apologize. We've been involved in a number of efforts here over the past few years. Clippers games. Brian works on crew games, Ohio State games,
Blue Jackets
games. We have done some competitions, helped friends with participate in choreographed shows that are competition-wise. We did the Pyro float a couple years ago for anyone who was at the Halloween parade. That was definitely different.
One of my favorites,
to say the least.
Yeah.
But we've been involved in around the area in quite a few shows.
Mm-hmm. If you want to see that Halloween parade video, that's on our YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out. Just go to Litter Media YouTube and type in Halloween parade, because it was awesome to see not only fireworks in the sky from the parade route, but for people who were at ground level to see them launch off the float.
Yeah, that was something totally new. Even Hamburg Fireworks, who is the company that does Chillicothe that we shoot for, they've never known of it being done anywhere, you know, even in Columbus or anything. So we appreciate the fire department, because they're responsible for everyone's safety as we are, and they gave us a chance, you know, to do this, and I'd like to do it again. Actually, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and he used the former bank buildings, LCMB at one side and the old Huntington Bank
building, yes,
at the other side.
Yes.
It was an amazing show. What does it take to put together a show? Because Brian's brought examples of shells that'll be fired, and to give us an idea of how much preparation time, I know because I've been there, but tell our audience what kind of preparation goes into one show.
Well, it kind of depends on the show. For example, we shot Country Club Sunday night. That was a hand-fired show. They're playing music, but it's not scripted or anything, you know, to that degree. But for Chillicothe, you know, there is a soundtrack. It will be scripted to that soundtrack. It's all electrically fired. We've actually started weeks ago on this. Product list, a gentleman in the club, Grant Miller, and his family just do a wonderful job. And the time that it takes for them to place the shells in the soundtrack, label everything, do the timing, is a tremendous effort. I would hate to think the amount of hours that are put in from a club perspective in getting ready for July 4th.
Chillicothe we have a great place to shoot down there in the annex. The downside is there's a lot of sky to fill. So a couple of years ago, we started, instead of having one central location, where we fire, all the fireworks from, we have spread out to multiple locations across the annex, which helps fill the sky. But once again, that's that much more work, and that would not be possible without the computerized system that we are currently using. Because there's too much cables to run and too many obstacles. But it's been a game changer for doing the Chillicothe show.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of, like Doug said, it's weeks has been an understatement, I would say, but it is a group effort from the soundtrack to even getting equipment together, and product right now with the embargoes and everything else is an issue. So we are very fortunate.
I know for years, and when I was working in Columbus, one of the fellows I was working with worked with WNCI for the Red, Wine, and Boom.
Yes.
And so he wanted us to produce a soundtrack for the city of Dublin's fireworks. And so that's when I got involved with working and putting together a soundtrack. Then when I came to Chillicothe, did the first few, and then through an ownership split of the radio stations, Christina Wolford got more involved with it, and she's handled it for probably the last 25 years. She now is with Hank FM. That's where you'll be able to hear the soundtrack. Make sure you're listening to an actual radio, because if you listen to the app, it'll be off, and the delay is there, so you won't get a chance to see the booms go off with the music. But they do a fantastic job and have over the years. But it takes a while to put the soundtrack together so that you can have something to match it with. So this is a product that begins in May for many people.
Oh yeah, she puts a lot of work into that soundtrack and does a great job. And of course, once she's done, it's our turn, and that's where Grant Miller, he places every single shell. Every shell in this show is placed. A lot of the shells will be matched when we shoot, more than one shells at a time. We try to match like shells for effect. A lot. And when we drop the show, when we set the show up, we have a computer module at each location, several, and so each shell, for instance, here's a 6-inch shell. We shoot a lot of these. It'll have a module number and a queue number. So when we're wiring this in, we know exactly where this shell will be in the show because it's already programmed and it's already scripted. So when you wire the shell, we know, like I said, what queue, and that tells it where to fire during the show. So it is complicated, but yet it's worth it.
And I'm sure along the way there are some that don't fire, and I've watched you sweep the grounds afterwards to find the ones that just didn't take off the way they're supposed to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can have situations, even with an electrically fired show, that shell does not go, or even though the shell was lit, humidity, rain, things we don't want to talk about this week,
right?
Can prevent a shell from firing. In the finale, you have finale chains, you can have tears. So, part of the chain fires, and you still end up with maybe a couple shells that don't fire.
Yeah, you might hear a few shells after the show, 5 or 10 minutes after. That is us clearing the guns because it's safer to go ahead and fire those shells to dispose of them. The ones we find the next day, though, like Doug is saying, that did not fire, those have to be boxed back up, placarded, and taken back to be disposed of. So
there's a lot of safety that goes into this as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, and thanks to the Chillicothe Fire Department, we've been working with them for a number of years now. They're great to work with. They keep an eye on us as well. Double check our work.
Absolutely.
They ask questions when they feel they need to, and they will question us when they feel they need to. But it's all about safety. It's all about everyone going home at the end of the evening, and they do a great job. Yeah.
There's a wide area that you have to cover, as you said, a lot of sky to fill. But there are people that are in the parking lots on North Bridge Street. There's people in the parking lots in the park. But to watch this fireworks display, the best place to see it is right there on the flood wall, because you're going to see everything. And what's it like to hear the roar afterwards from the crowd?
For me, it's rewarding. I mean, it tells us we did our job. Of course, we get pretty excited when the show goes well with all the work, and we know how the show is supposed to go. So when it goes as planned, it's a great feeling. I mean, and we hope that everyone appreciates it, and it's important.
Yeah, our nerves are quite high when the first shell leaves the gun. You know, there's kind of a sigh of relief on our part that things are working, and of course, when the finale goes off as well and everything's quiet, you know, we can look around and start, you know, high fives, and it was a good show, and have a cool down period before we start checking the guns, see if there's anything that didn't go. But yeah, we kind of start getting nervous around April. Because
of course reality sets in as soon as the last shell goes, and you check your guns. It's we got to clean all this up and tear everything back down. And, you know, so it's
and people don't realize how much time it takes for you. This might be a 21 minute show, but for you guys, it is hours upon hours of preparation
days.
time.
Yeah, days.
And then afterwards the cleanup as well.
Yes, yeah. By the time the show's over, you're pretty exhausted anyway. But yes, then you've got to tear everything back down. And of course, the next morning we come back with the fire department, and that's when we sweep for shells. And so you're back before the first light next morning. But it's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it.
I will tell you, 2018 was the first time I was ever at ground zero for the fireworks display. I was blown away, really blown away, because it's something to sit far away and watch it, but then to be underneath it is even more impressive.
Yeah, that's the place to be.
I think that's why you guys like this so much, isn't it?
It is.
And as Bill Knoles told us earlier this week, and I think he told us this last year, that his brother's been blowing things up for a long time. You started doing this as a family show, wasn't it?
Yes, kind of, well, more so some of my friends in high school. Now, when we were vacationing, my dad we'd always stop Tennessee or somewhere and pick up fireworks, you know, and so we'd have some available. So it must be in the genes, I don't know. But yeah, we just started, you know, getting together, shooting little shows and get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And that's about the time Doug came on board, and then we'd start making our trips to Tennessee. And each year got bigger and bigger, and we started doing our own private show, which we shot up to 16-inch shells, which is about 75 pounds for one shell. Large show. So it's an addiction, but we decided it was time to stop doing our private show and start doing the public, you know, Chillicothe, because this is this is home.
And then you stumbled into Hamburg, or did Hamburg stumble into you guys?
You know, we kind of stumbled onto them, I believe. The Hover Rally is when we did the fireworks for the Hover Rally, is when we first met up with Hamburg, and it just blossomed into a perfect relationship between the club and them. They're right there in Lancaster. We're not driving 6 hours to pick up product and shows. Great company, great family company. Can't speak highly enough of everyone there, and they treat us right. I mean, they treat us right. So
I think NBC4 did a feature on them last year and took us into the family, and really we had an opportunity to see how closely they work together and the enjoyment they get of making something we all enjoy to watch. I know the dogs don't like it, but outside of that, most everybody else, they just love the fireworks.
Yeah. No, their dad started out of his garage. Yeah. I think 1972, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it just grew, and now the children have grown, and they're running the company and running it well. I mean, they do over 400 shows a year now, so it's really grown to a great company. And
I know, like you said, you had the Chillicothe Country Club fireworks earlier this week. Do you have others outside of this one that you're doing in the next few weeks?
We do. Well, we'll be doing the VA on the 19th.
Okay.
The VA Appreciation Night. There's a paints game also. We enjoy that one also. But we do other communities. Yeah, we do a lot of shows, but we try to keep as much in this area as we can.
Mm-hmm. Well, we certainly appreciate the time and effort it takes for you guys to put this together so that we can have an enjoyment, albeit 20 minutes, but outside of that, it's a lot of fun.
It's a labor of love.
Yes.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, I want you to talk about a finale. this year's finale. Well, let me start with last year's finale. It seemed as though as the finale went off, it increased in loudness, it increased in brightness. It was almost to a point where you had to look away.
Doug is the finale man right here. So,
what's planned for this year?
I have tweaked the finale just a little bit to add a little bit more noise at the end.
Yeah.
But the finale, I like to build a finale. In all honesty, if I could have all salutes in the finale, that's what it would be, because I like noise.
Yeah.
But
and the salutes are the big bangs.
Big bangs. Yeah. But a finale that lasts a minute is a long finale. So you have to design that finale so that people feel that building of the caller and the noise, and it's quite enjoyable. I do enjoy setting up finales.
Yeah. Well, as you watch it Friday night, you may have some sunglasses available, because it seems like as it goes on, you want to put those on because it keeps getting brighter and bigger. And then afterwards, the roar of the crowd. In fact, you've been watching some of the fireworks displays that are behind us here. If you go to our YouTube channel later today, Aaron, is that available now or later today? 11:45 today, this video will be released. It is the finales from 2018, 2022, 23, and 24. And they're all together on one screen, so you can watch them all at the same time. And of course, we've got a playlist for the fireworks. You can go back and see all of the fireworks displays that we have recorded from the Chillicothe fireworks. Guys, thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate you
Thank
coming
you
in.
for having us.
I know they've got more media interviews to do today, so we'll let them go. But thank you for watching here today with this special edition of Litter Media Live, brought to you by Adina Health.